Welcome or welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I am going to be doing a scrap yarn project. So I have a lot of yarn in my room and I just want to start using up what I already have and not always running to the shops when I want to make a specific project. I know it is necessary sometimes to go to the shops and pick out your colors and all your designs, but it's also important to use what you've already bought in the past. So that's what we're doing today. So I began selecting through my different colors and I was thinking what would go well together, and I came up with this color combination. And honestly, I would have never chosen these colors to make a sweater if I was picking them from a shop. But we're going to make a sweater out of them regardless. And these are not really my colors. I'm more of like a pink, cream, sage green and brown type person. So this is definitely outside of my style and outside of my comfort zone. And this is not my design entirely. I have seen a lot of sweaters on Pinterest that look just like this. However, I didn't use a pattern. I literally just freehanded it. Okay, so this sweater consists of 2 large granny squares, and I made mine big enough so they just pass my shoulders on both sides. I wanted it to be a really nice and relaxed fit, and obviously if you want to make your granny square bigger you can, and you'll have a nice oversized look. I think I'm gonna start playing around with the sizes of my granny squares on the next sweater that I do, but for now I just wanted it to be nice and fitted. I have a tutorial on how to make a granny square for beginners, so if you want to make your own granny square sweater, feel free to click the link in the description box below. I think when you're designing your own clothes, the hardest part is picking the colors, and not even just that, the order of the colors as well. And I was kind of struggling with picking the order. Like, all the colors go really nice together, but which colors would look nice when they're close together? So I just spent like a good 10 minutes just rearranging my yarn and thinking which ones go well together, and I'm so happy with the order. I love the order. Oh my goodness, if only I liked blue and black clothing, then I literally would have worn this in public. But yeah, I'm really happy with the colors, and I think that I have to make another sweater, but in colors that I would actually wear. I spent a good 2 days working on the granny squares. I only had to make 2, but for some reason it was taking me a while. I made like 1 a day. This process is really repetitive, so whilst you watch me crochet my granny squares, let's talk about my Etsy shop. So like a lot of crochet Etsy shops, they tend to have products that they make, obviously, like made to order products. And with me, crocheting just takes so much time out of my day and just a lot of efforts. And I was just thinking to myself, what if I just sold what I made in my videos? Because I'm going to make it anyway, and I can just sell it. And I was thinking, that's a good idea, but I need to really see if it is a good idea in terms of how many people actually buy. So my shop is completely limited edition basically, and there's only one of everything that I sell on the shop. So I was thinking to myself, if I was a shopper on Etsy and I saw a shop that sold limited edition things, I would buy. You have a chance to be completely unique. You have a chance to take hold of your own style and walk with confidence, knowing that you are the only one on the planet that has this specific thing. And that's how I feel with my strawberry tote bag. I love how this turned out. I'm actually so in love with this, but I wouldn't use it. That's the thing. And I have a lot of things that I crochet that I wouldn't necessarily use, and that's what gave me the idea of making my shop limited edition. And I would stock it probably every month, so when I record videos with certain projects I can just list that on my Etsy shop, but monthly. So I have my stock for January, and it's just sweaters, scarves, and it's just like winter themed stuff. And I do have a few products that I wouldn't mind making. the products that I mind making are just like really big projects, like sweaters or like granny square scarves, for example. Like that takes a lot of effort. So the things that I have on my shop that I would not mind restocking are beanies and hair bows, but I still want to stick with that theme of limited edition with majority of my stock, if that makes sense. Also roses, I love making roses, so I don't mind making those for people at all. One of the hardest things about starting your business is the lack of reviews and the lack of opinions. Like, I feel like my idea is a good idea, but I won't know that until someone told me that it's a good idea, or someone told me that it wasn't a good idea, you know. But I don't see any harm in making anything limited edition, so hopefully it'll work and people are more inclined to run to the shop seeing what I have stocked for this month. And yeah, just people need to embrace their uniqueness, you know. And I think me having my shop like that will definitely help. But only time will tell. My shop is still relatively new, and a lot of people do view my shop, which is a good sign, and a few people have favorited my items, which is also a really good sign. But we're just going to be waiting for that order, and it could come any day now. Okay, so once I finished crocheting both of my granny squares, I marked where I wanted my shoulder panels to go and my sleeve holes to go. So I have a big obsession with making like really big and wide sleeves, and my mom was always like, why do you want your sleeves to be that wide? Like, do you not see how big they are? But I think it's nice, it's fashion, you know. But that's just always been my preference. But today I was like, okay, let's tone down the sleeves a little bit and make it like a regular sweater. So for the sleeve holes, my stitches are 16 total all the way around, and I think that's a perfect size. You know, it's very baggy as well, but not too baggy, just very comfortable and cozy. And I really don't like sewing my crochet things. I tend to slip stitch instead, so that's exactly what I did. So I slip stitched up until all the stitch markers, and that was the front and the back of my cardigan complete. And I also left a little bit of a hole for the neckline. I didn't want the neckline to be too wide. I literally just wanted it to be like a normal sweater. Once I finished that, I was deciding how I wanted to make the sleeves. So idea number one was to make 2 large granny squares and then sew them together and then sew them to my sweater. But then I was thinking, I want my sweater to be more seamless, so I decided to crochet in my sleeves. So I just did a granny square stitch in rounds until it became the length that I wanted, and I'm so glad I decided to do this because it turned out so good. Oh my goodness, it's so pretty. And whenever I make cardigans and sweaters, I think I'm now going to just sew in my sleeves. It just looks so good when everything is just like one piece. For some reason, it took me a lot less time to crochet my sleeves than it did for the back and front panel, so I don't know why that's the case. But after I did that, I added some ribbing to my sleeves and I chained 16. And then when you're making ribbing, you usually skip the first 2 stitches. So I had a total of 14 stitches. So I also repeated that on the other arm, and I was deciding whether I wanted to put ribbing at the bottom of the sweater or not, and I decided just to add a little bit. I chained 6 and then I skipped 2, so then I had 4 stitches just to add a little bit of something at the bottom of my sweater. Also, before you add your ribbing, you should single crochet all the way around the area that you're working on, because it just gives your crochet thing a nice foundation. Because when you do granny squares, you have these gaps and you have these stitches. Sometimes the stitches are wider than others and it's just really messy, so I would not recommend doing your ribbing straight on. Just do a nice round of single crochets first and then start your ribbing. And I might do a tutorial on it. I feel like it's so easy, especially for beginners as well. I feel like sometimes us beginners tend to overthink certain aspects of clothing when you're crocheting it yourself, but trust me, it's really easy. Once I did the ribbing on the sleeves and the bottom of my cardigan, I had to weave in all the ends. Guys, this process was so long. Oh my goodness. There's so many ends I had to weave in because I was constantly changing colors. But once I did that, it was complete. I honestly love how this turned out, and I don't really have a bad thing to say about it except for the fact that I wouldn't wear it. But there's nothing wrong with the actual sweater itself, and this is the first sweater I've actually made. I tend to make cardigans because for some reason I thought sweaters would be hard to make, but I was like, it can't be that hard, so I decided to try it myself. I'm gonna try a non-granny square sweater though. But yeah, I love how this turned out. I think it's the perfect length, it's a perfect fit. I love the sleeves, and my mum was actually so relieved that the sleeves were not massive. But yeah, I really love how it turned out, and this exact sweater will be available on my Etsy shop, link in the description box below. Alright guys, that is the end of today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and as always, I will see you in the next one.